I just finished my final exams at university. It was an exhausting semester, and all I wanted was a little peace and quiet. Right on cue, an offer came from my art history professor, Mr. Abernathy. He and his family were going to Europe for the 2-week spring break, and they needed someone to look after their old house, which was located outside the city deep in the woods. In return, he'd pay well and offered it as the perfect opportunity to unwind. All I had to do was feed the cats and make sure the place was secure. I accepted immediately. The house was just as he described it. A 2-story, Victorian-style wooden structure built on a hill at the end of a dense forest, an hour's drive from the city. It was beautiful, but it gave you a strange feeling from the first moment.
Maybe it was the absolute silence.
I was so used to the noise of the city that hearing nothing but the howl of the wind was both peaceful and a little unsettling. The first few days were wonderful. I read books, played with the cats, and at night I watched movies from the professor's huge film collection. It was the 4th night. A light rain had started outside. I was curled up on the large sofa in the living room, watching an old horror movie. It was past midnight. Just then, I heard a noise from the direction of the kitchen. It was like a clatter. I figured it was the cat and kept watching the movie, but a few minutes later, the sound came again, clearer this time, like a glass being placed on a table. Slowly, I paused the movie. My heart started to beat faster. "Milo, is that you?" I called out to the cat. No answer. I slowly got up from the sofa and walked towards the kitchen. When I turned on the light, everything looked normal. The counter, the table, everything was as I had left it.
I must have misheard, I thought.
The movie is getting to me. Just as I was about to return to the living room, my eye caught something on the floor. Next to the cat's food bowl, there was a small, muddy footprint.
But it wasn't an animal's paw.
It belonged to a bare human foot, and it was much smaller than mine.
That's when I started to get scared. I was sure all the doors and windows in the house were locked. Still, I checked. Everywhere was locked tight. I tried to ignore the footprint. Maybe it was there before and I just hadn't noticed.
I was trying to find logical explanations, but a corner of my brain was screaming, "You are not alone in here." Sleeping that night was very difficult.
I jumped at every creak.
The next day, nothing strange happened. I calmed myself down, convincing myself that last night's event was just a product of exhaustion. When evening came, I was sitting in the living room again. This time, I put on a comedy instead of a horror movie.
Outside, it was pitch black.
The living room had a large, floor-to-ceiling window that looked out into the forest. It had a wonderful view during the day, but at night it transformed into a giant black mirror where you could only see your own reflection. At one point in the movie, my eyes drifted to my reflection in the window,
and my heart nearly stopped.
Behind my reflection, right over my shoulder, there was another face, a pale, emotionless face with dark eyes staring directly at me.
I screamed and jumped up, turning around.
There was no one in the living room. Trembling, I approached the window and looked outside. I could have sworn I saw a silhouette standing at the edge of the forest among the trees. But when I blinked, it was gone.
I knew I wasn't imagining things anymore.
Someone was playing games with me, or worse. I immediately ran to the professor's study, shut the heavy curtains, and locked the door.
I didn't know what to do.
Should I call the police? What would I say? I saw a face in my window? They would laugh at me.
I slept, or tried to sleep, on the sofa in the study that night.
Towards dawn, I woke up to a sound from the upper floor, a slow, rhythmic creak.
As if someone was rocking in an old rocking chair.
There was no rocking chair in the house. The sound was coming from right where the bedrooms were.
I froze. I held my breath and listened.
The creaking stopped. Then I heard slow footsteps coming down the stairs. 1, 2, 3. With each step, my heart felt like it would break through my chest. The footsteps stopped right in front of the study door. There was a moment of silence, and then the doorknob began to turn slowly downwards. It was locked. The doorknob was released. A few more seconds of silence. Then I heard the footsteps walk away towards the kitchen and the back door slowly open and close. As soon as the sun rose that morning, I packed my things, left plenty of food and water for the cat, and fled the house. I sent a message to Professor Abernathy saying I had a family emergency. I wasn't going back. A week later, when the professor returned from his vacation, he called me. I told him everything: the footprint, the face in the window, the sounds from upstairs. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then he spoke in a tired voice. "Ah," he said, "so you saw the Watcher." I was confused. "The Watcher?" I asked. "The previous owner of the house," he continued. "He was a bit of an odd man. Spent the last years of his life in that house, just watching the forest from the window. After he died, the neighbors sometimes said they saw someone standing inside the house or at the edge of the woods, just watching."
He's harmless, I think. I never went back to that house again.
I'll never know if it was a ghost or a crazy neighbor the professor failed to mention. But I know one thing: sometimes, when I'm alone at night and I walk past a dark window in my room, I can't stop myself from looking over my shoulder at my reflection, as if I expect to see that pale face again looking back at me.